Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Division One meeting. We're glad everybody could show up and be here today. We're going to get things kicked off here and see exactly how we're going to be conducting our meeting today. We've got so far got 30 people online with us. Thanks for being here. Mr. Treadaway, Mr. Waters, Mr. Kaiser, you guys may have to pull immediate duty because apparently Mr. Garfield, I don't know if he's going to be able to get logged in or not. I've tried to talk to him twice this morning. He said he was logging in 10 minutes ago. We still don't have him logged in, so may need you guys to step up and help us out with today's presentation. If you've got some pictures you can throw in there, I'll let you guys be adding some photographs if you want to gather them up together. This morning, guys, first I want to start off and welcome honored guests and everybody. We've got our hopefully future president of the NMRA, Gordy Robinson. Say hello, Gordy. Go ahead and unmute yourself and say hi to everybody.
Good morning, everybody. It's still morning, right?
Over here it is, yes. Not where you are. Yep. What's the temperature where you are in Scotland?
In Fahrenheit. We're in the high 30s today.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. It's a good day over there, isn't
it? Yeah. Let's leave it at that.
Well, we're glad you joined us, Gordy. Thanks for stepping in. I want to call on you in just a minute and ask you to talk to us about the upcoming NMRA X and the British Region Convention. Can you go ahead and fill us in a little bit of details on that?
Of course, I'll be welcome to. So, yep, the NMRA X fall program is pretty packed. First up will be the British Region Convention, which will take place on the 19th of October through to the 24th. The British region itself only has 100 user license for WebEx, so anyone can register for it, but it'll be evening time in the UK, so it'll be kind of afternoon in Central Time for you guys. And there's various events. If you're going to go to our website, I'll pop it in the chat. Rather than trying to read it out, I'll pop our website for the convention in the chat. And then you can go and have a look. You can register, but if there's very well subscribed events, then there'll be preference will be given to British Region members just because it's the 75th anniversary of the British Region this year. The British Region was only the second region of the NMRA. And so kind of want to just give those guys a bit of preference because it is supposed to be their event. However, on the Friday, there is Friday afternoon, the 23rd, there is a series of clinics that will be live streamed by NMRAX on YouTube and Facebook in the usual fashion. And then on the Saturday, there's actually a presentation by the British Region historian who's going to be talking about the history of the British region of 75 years, how it was formed in 1945, just after World War II, and various famous people, including John Allen, who were members of the British region at various times, including how the British region acquired a Canadian Pacific massive Bell off a locomotive. So there'll be quite a lot going there. That'll be live streamed on Saturday afternoon for you guys. And then kind of straight after that in November, we have another NMRAX 12-hour session with various clinicians from across the world. And we are still in negotiation and discussion with TrainFest to do a manufacturer's launch event with NMRAX. So all the new product announcements that would be coming out at TrainFest would come out through NMRAX, and we would also do other things with manufacturers and clinicians and stuff like that. But then at the beginning of December, it will be NERX, so Northeastern Region of the United States, evening times, 3 days, first week in December on Wednesday through Saturday, for 4 hours at a time. It's the middle of the night for Gordy, so Gordy may or may not make appearances, but mostly it's going to be Speed and the boys in Australia. So that will take place in December, and then live from the North Pole or Orkney, depending whether you view where I live as being the North Pole or not. On the 27th into the 28th of December, 27th I think for you guys, yeah, 27th for Texas of December, there'll be an NMREX event, hopefully with a bit of a difference, because we'll be doing hopefully our first ever NMREX live make and take clinic where everyone can take part at home. Exactly how that's going to work and how big a car crash that may be, I don't know yet, but the British region will be trialing doing make and take clinics to give us some idea of how successful that may or may not be. And I think that's the next step for NMREX, is to try to turn the screw on the educational aspect of it. So Mike Mackey, your division president, has very kindly agreed to give one of the very first virtual make and take clinics that will be taking place at the British Region Convention, and then we'll be taking it from there. And then new year, new opportunities, hopefully new vaccines, and we'll see where NMREX goes into 2021. But if you want some stats, it's 24 weeks since NMREX launched, and I did some numbers this morning for the Cowcatcher magazine. There has been 256,000 views of NMREX videos on Facebook and YouTube since that event. There are over 81 hours of videos from NMREX that have been uploaded to YouTube for you to watch, and the guys are busy slaughtering the way through 101 extra hours of content that still needs to be edited and uploaded to YouTube. And we're trying to load at least one video every day between now and the end of the year, so that it's not all going on in one tidal wave, but it's going. So yeah, by the end of the year it'll be over 200 hours. So, and hopefully we'll top 300,000 views. So that's it, really, Mike.
All right, that's terrific. I got a phone call from Tim Blackwell a couple of days ago, and he's wanting to do a feature article. So if you're not familiar with Cowcatcher Magazine, you missed last month's meeting with us. Cowcatcher Magazine got its start as the division newsletter from our division, and that's where it came up with its name, Cowcatcher Magazine, because it came from the Cowcatcher division. So Tim is taken that magazine and turned it into a major publication. It's spread across the United States, and he's asked me to help him get in touch with Gordy and several others to do a feature article on the NMREX and how it's doing an impact. So Gordy's putting that stuff together. Thanks a lot, Gordy. We sure appreciate all you're doing, and good luck in your run for president of the organization. Speaking of elections, yours truly has thrown his hat back in to be a division director again for Division 1. Hopefully get elected for another term. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Dwayne. You're the only one that did that. So I appreciate it. Maybe you guys are getting tired of me at this point. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, Bruce. Yeah, right, Bruce. All right. So anyway, working diligently on the convention. Needs some help with the website. Needs some short updates on it currently. We're going to try to get somebody to do some more stuff on it. Mr. Palmer originally helped us out to get it set up, but he is not our webmaster of record. So I need somebody who's got web expertise to give me a holler privately. You can do it via chat. You can do it, send me an email to director@cowcatcherdivision.org, and we can go that route. We do have some changes. Specifically, the dates of the convention are not listed correctly on the website, and that's nobody's fault, because at the time that we put the website up, those dates were tentative and they were just basically a placeholder. But now that we've gotten the convention and people are starting to go towards the website for content, then we need to get some updates put on there as well. Speaking of the 2023 convention, I want to welcome and thank Bruce Willig, who's also decided he's going to run for the directorship at Division 5 out in our neighbors to the west. He's going to be throwing his name in the hat to be elected out there. Bruce has also got an AV company that he owns and does major event audio visual. And so he has very graciously offered up his services and his company's services and all of their equipment for us to use for the 2023 convention. And he's got the ability to really make that shine. I saw some photographs that he I saw some photographs that he put out there the other day that he shared with me of some events, and we're talking about events the size of gymnasiums with big screens hanging down from the ceilings and things like that, where several thousand people can see different things. So very, very good, and we appreciate Brooks doing that. He's also the one that helped us get our video switcher, which we're going to be using in our media broadcast room at the 23 convention. In other announcements, we've got, for the first time since February, we're going to try to, no, since March, excuse me, we had a March meeting that was a face-to-face meeting. We are going to go back, and if you've not read your newsletter, we had David Hager did a very fine job putting together the newsletter this time. He and Chris Galvin are working there. Mr. Hager's an assistant editor on the newsletter to give Mr. Galvin a break every other month, and so he did a fine job on that. But David he's also putting together some different things there as far as we'll probably have him do a clinic here in another few months on some CAD design and things like that. Let's see. I lost my train of thought where else I was going with David Hager. It happens sometimes. It's happening more frequently than other times now. So, let's see.
Next meeting. You were going to mention something about the next meeting.
Oh, yeah. That's it. Thank you. Appreciate it, Don. We're going to be having our meeting. We're having our Christmas party this year. As was mentioned, that's how I got off of Mr. Hager, was talking about the newsletter. It was mentioned in our newsletter in the announcements that we're going to be going ahead and we're going to have our Christmas party. We have gone ahead and rented the Forest Hill Civic Center. They've got tables and chairs. We've got enough space there to social distance and have a meal. We're going to conduct it just like they're doing in restaurants these days. It will be a potluck dinner. We're going to do it just like we did last time, last couple of years, where we're going to use a web service called Perfect Potluck. We'll send you out an email to link to it, to where you can sign up for what dish you're bringing. You can also see what everybody else is bringing. It's a very good way to get it organized. And we're going to have a potluck dinner and then some activities of some sort. But Venus Whaley, who is a very close connection to the Texas Western, very graciously gave us a very sweetheart deal on the rental of the building. We've got the building rented for $300 for the evening from 5:30 until 10:30, and that includes the kitchen area, tables and chairs, and the building for us to use. Then on top of that, in the name of her father, who was a huge model railroader, she personally donated $150 back to the division because we wanted to do that. So net on the division cost is $150 for us to have our Christmas party at a place where we don't have to worry about tables, we don't have to worry about chairs, we don't have to worry about a kitchen, and all we got to do is clean it up after the fact. So I think we came out all right. What do you guys think about that? Is that a good thing? Yes? So we certainly want everybody to participate with us. If you want to come, please kind of RSVP so we'll know how many tables and chairs to do it. That's open to anybody in Division 1 or Division 3 and Division 5. Brooks, y'all can carpool and come over. If you've got some group that you want to bring over for the division Christmas party, we can do that. More details coming. I don't know if we're going to do the typical Chinese gift exchange. I'll kind of seek counsel on that as to whether or not y'all think that that's going to be a problem with COVID and spreading infectious diseases on surfaces of Christmas presents or not. That's something we got to consider now. So something to care about there. So let's see, any other announcements? Next month, Mike Corley is going to be giving us a clinic on making your buildings look more realistic, primarily talking about roof details and things like that. If you think about how our buildings are viewed from our railroad, you typically are seeing the tops of them rather than anything else. So with that in mind, how to detail the tops of your tops of your buildings, and what you can do from there. So that's going to be next month. So that carries us through to January. The plan, Lord willing, and COVID being subsided, we're hoping that we can come back in and start our year-long postponed clinic on the flat car build. And Mr. Lysing and I are going to be posting online on the website the parts list per scale of everything you need to order. So you got plenty of time to get it ordered. We're going to try to get that for those of you who haven't already placed an order up front. Then we'll do that and we'll get that done. And hopefully we'll try to get that started in January. There are certain, we may have to let Dwayne conduct that virtually, which is not as good as being there in the room, but it still can be done. We do clinics online all the time. So he's got all of the video equipment set up to where he can teach us, and we would broadcast it in the room while everybody was at the Texas Western doing that clinic, and we'll go from there. We can spread out. David, if we need to get more tables, let me know, and I can bring some additional tables over. I think I've got 4 extra tables that I can bring over, and they're bigger tables than what we normally have at the Texas Western, so we can go from there.
If you can give me a head count at some point, I can make sure we have what we need.
Right now, I think there's 33. There's 33. Ken, please don't share your screen. You don't mind? Because right now, everybody's seeing what you're showing instead of everything else that's going on here on our Zoom meeting. I'm going to take this back. There we go. All right. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. All right. So David, right now we have about 33, 35 people signed up. And when we get together, all of the items that are needed to make those flat cars based off the number that you ordered have been assembled in a baggie with everybody's name on it. And we just simply walk up, hand you your baggie, and you walk away, and everybody's got all their stuff per scale, N scale, HO, and O scale, because we've got several people that are doing that as well. So that's the plan for January. Then that clinic is probably what, Dwayne, you think it's going to be? That clinic's going to be 2 months minimum, or do you
Yes.
think it's going to be 3?
No, we should be able to get it all done in 2 months, because the idea in the first session is we're going to stain all our strip wood, get everything cut, and we're going to have the frame assembled by the time everybody goes home. If you don't, basically the idea will be is you'll have your frame. So you're going to have the basic frame of the car and the deck on it by the time we go home in the first month. That's the idea. If you don't get it that far, that'll be your homework, so that when you come back the next month, we'll be putting on the stirrups and the brakes and all the things that go underneath the car.
Okay, great. Joe Lysing, from, go ahead and unmute yourself if you would, Joe. Do we have clinics lined up for beginning in March through some other months in 21?
Negative. We have nothing confirmed for 2022.
21?
2021 rather.
Okay. You and I can sit down. We'll go through that. We may get Mr. Wright back involved if Dennis is so inclined to help us on some of that stuff and go from there. Dennis has had a respite since you've gotten back from New Hampshire, so and we appreciate Dennis helping out with that as well.
Be glad to help.
I'm sorry. Okay, thanks,
Be
Dennis.
glad to help.
Appreciate it. Bruce Petrarca, we may lean on you to do a clinic if you don't mind in March. We can talk about that sometime soon. If you don't mind doing a virtual clinic for us, because even though we're face to face, just like I said with Dwayne, we can broadcast it via Zoom. We've got internet at our meeting location. We can throw you up on the screen and let you go from there if you'd be so inclined.
I've thrown up at better place. Never mind.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I'd be happy to do that. If I can, I'd like to throw something in here.
Sure.
While you got me on the screen, it's a lovely day in Arizona. It was under 70 this morning. So
Cool. All right.
Yeah, very cool. I know Gordy'd probably kill for that, but anyhow.
No, he's saying no.
No? Oh, well, too hot for him, I guess. Anyhow, we here in Arizona, our division director, Frank Baker, starting just about exactly 7 days from now, is doing a 3-week clinic on building a laser structure, and we're doing it through Zoom using a kit, and everybody will be in their own homes doing it, and so we'll see how that goes. And so between what you're doing, what Gordy's doing, what we're doing, we're building a whole knowledge base of how to do these sorts of things and develop something. And the interesting thing about it is most of the people that are signed up to do this clinic, it's a little REA building, are not folks that are very experienced structures builders. And so we'll find out how well this works going that direction. And also, just a shameless plug here, I started in August a NMRA, or an achievement program newsletter. So I'm the achievement program manager for Arizona Division, and I'll throw out in the chat the link to our website where they're all up there in archive. They're 2 pages long and just a little bit of local news but a lot of little hints and tips on something related to if you're building something that you may want to have be part of the achievement program along the way. Here's some ways to make it easier to get it going. So
Cool.
that was all I had.
Appreciate it, Bruce. And by the way, I'm going to step out on a limb here. Hope I don't cut it off on the backside and I'm left hanging in the air here. But if you would like to get a copy of Bruce's achievement program newsletter, then if you'll put your email address in the chat, he can get those off of the chat over there and add those to his distribution list. Would that be okay, Bruce?
I can do that. The major distribution is done through MailChimp, and I don't have access to that list, but I do a secondary distribution to friends, and so I can add it to that. Also, I just remembered on the thing about March. If COVID allows us, we're supposed to be in Australia, so
Oh, okay. All right.
we may have to push that
Yeah,
out.
that's fine. Yeah, we're so flexible. It's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. So you've already got a couple of folks that have thrown email addresses into the chat there for you, Bruce. So.
Okay, I'll work on that.
All righty. Thank you. Anybody else have any announcements here? Mike Ross, do we have any announcements? What's going on with membership?
I'm impressed that we are holding stable. Really, it's a credit to the division and the programming.
Cool. Appreciate that. What's our numbers so far currently? It's still about 168, 170?
Honestly, I'll have to go back and check, but
okay. I think that's the number. It's been running between 165 and 170. I think that's where our numbers are. So we appreciate you helping us out with that. You and Mr. Crumpton are doing a good job on retention and things like that. Let's see here. Anybody else have any announcements you want to throw out? Mr. Crumpton, you have anything you want to? Oh, I know something that's there, and something I forgot also, and it's going to tie right into yours, David. Next Saturday, Division 3 is having a swap meet instead of a meeting. If y'all will bear with me a minute, I will give you the information on that. Let's see here. Come back to. Here we go. Okay, so the meeting is going to be held at Donna Orr's house. The address, if somebody could, Mike, could you put this in the chat real quick? The address is 2625 Rolling Meadows Drive in Rockwall. We're going to be setting up behind her garage and on the driveway. Anyone wanting to bring anything to sell or swap or give away, this is your chance to get all of that, quote, stuff, unquote, that you may have never or have not used in years. If you have a table and chair, bring those. If you do not have a table and chair, contact me and I will contact Donna and let her know what she's in need of. We can see how many tables and chairs we can round up. They're going to be starting at 11 a.m. So you want to be there just a little bit ahead of time so you can get set up because everything's starting at 11. That carries the swap meet is going to be through the lunch period. So in honor of COVID, they're asking that everyone bring your own lunch. However, the division is going to supply drinks. There will be soft drinks, tea, and water. Also, the meeting's going to be outside. The weather should be nice, according to Donna, with her prognostication. And included in the show, including in the meeting, will be a show and tell and a Q&A and lots of social time since we haven't been together in months. So mark your calendars for October 17th. If you have any questions, you can contact Donna at the following phone number, Mike, 972-342-8598, and go from there. So I think I'm going to be going over and taking some things to get rid of over there, and to try to. I've got some. I'm only using 40-foot cars on my layout, and my time frame has changed. So I'm going to be selling 50-foot and longer, and also some of my more modern stuff. So we'll get rid of that and move on. I'll also have some buildings to sell as well that I'm not going to be using. So anyway, that's there. Now, Mr. Crumpton, back to you.
Okay, don't forget, guys, November the 7th, which is on a Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., we'll be having a garage sale at our club there in Forest Hill on 6808 Forest Hill Drive. We're going to have tons of train stuff to sell, cars, track, some buildings, a lot of things that have been accumulated over the last couple of years that we usually sell at train shows. Some of it's beginner stuff, some of it's more advanced. Members also are donating things that they have to be sold so the profits can go into our club so we can continue to stay afloat. So you might find a small keyboard, a guitar amp, for example, and other things that people are going to bring to sell. So it should be a lot of fun, a lot of items. So save your money, come over and pick up that one thing that you just got to have.
Cool. I see Mr. Garfield's in with us. It's great. Thanks, John. We appreciate you being here. I've got you muted right now since we're doing other things, and we'll let you unmute when it's getting ready time for your presentation. Okay. Anybody else have any announcements that we need to go over? Anything else that we need to talk about? I don't see anybody raising their hand in the video section. Reggie, good to see you. Glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. Mr. Brannon, I see you got in here. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Let's see. Daryl, I see you there. Dr. Tom, you're here. And on my screen, you guys are right side by side. Y'all just reach over and shake hands with each other. That's good. Let's see. Dwayne, let's talk about AP program real quick.
Well, nobody sent me anything, so not a lot to talk about. At least not from D1 or D3 right now. We've been fairly active down around the Houston area the last couple of months. I have got some paperwork in from a gentleman down there that I need to process, or no, from Austin that I need to process. For those of you who've gone to some of the LSRs over the last few years, some of the regional conventions, Mike Barrett, who does the really, really nice trestle building clinics, used to own Black Bear Trestle Jigs. Mike has actually started his process of working on MMR. So I've got the first of his SOQs in. I'll be processing those, which is good to see. We've got, trying to think if there's anybody else. We have a former LSR member who moved up to the wilds of North Dakota, I believe it is. And he has sent me some paperwork to sign off on for some work he did while he was down here. And I'll be mailing a ream of paper about that thick back to him that covers all the stuff that he has done. So, but other than that, it's been quiet so far this month. We updated last month. We had like 6 or 7. So it's been kind of a quiet month so far.
Yeah.
But you've got till the 20th. I've got it till the 20th. My deadline's the 19th. If you can get it to me by the 19th, then I will get it processed and get it in the hopper for this month. So if you guys have got anything you're working on, please let me know. If you have a layout at your house and you've not thought about this, if it's up and running, if it has some scenery on it, you may be fairly well along the way and not even know it. So, yes, Reggie, those are for different certifications. So, it's one of those things where it really doesn't take as much as you think. Yes, the paperwork is horrific, but it is what it is. But I'd be willing to help you with anything you've got going on. Yeah, Reggie, whatever you got, man. Basically, go through the paperwork. Give me a call if you've got any questions. Be happy to walk through that with you. It's fairly straightforward, but all the forms are on the nmra.org in the education section. Get those processed, scan them in, and email them to me is the best way to do it. And then I can print them off and sign them, scan them back in, and I can email them up to nationals. So that's the easiest way to do it. But if you don't have a scanner or whatever, and you want to just drop them in the mail and go that route, we can do that too. Whatever works best for you. But yeah, if anybody's got any questions, please reach out, give me a call, drop me an email.
Dwayne,
And,
you might put your email
Yep.
and phone number in the chat.
Yep, will do.
Or contact. Reggie's been posting on the Facebook group for model railroading, and I've seen some of the pictures of his in-scale layout. I know since he's already been posting things out there, he's putting things out for people to look at. So therefore, that would be part of the requirement for his Golden Spike. Reggie, how how big is your layout? We can't hear you, Reggie.
Oh, this. I'm talking on my work headset.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry. My layout is 4x8 right now, but I'm trying to work with the missus to get an expansion going.
There you go. Hey, the landlord always works on the expansion thing. So gotcha. It's a land grant thing. Right?
Yes, I've spec'd out a little space under the window sill that will go at least 4 more feet. But right now it's about 4x8, and we've pretty much, my son and I have pretty much maxed out everything right now. We're going through and just converting some DCCs to sound. It's a history of BNSF predecessor layout. That's the theme.
I know, Dwayne, that's a little bit of an irksome thing for you because
I won't hold
Reggie,
it against him.
Reggie, so that you understand the history, Dwayne's family were long Frisco people.
Oh, I've got some Friscos.
And so he thinks that BNSF stands for Been Nothing Since Frisco. That's what he's
because it does.
You know, and so
that's okay.
That's it. You know,
we have pumpkin locomotives, so.
Yeah. Hey, I look at it like this. I can say Burlington Northern now without throwing up a little bit or trying to spit. So I think I've matured. I've grown.
He's increasing. Yeah. So
yeah, this is my second layout. So my first one was
works in the IT department for BNSF. He actually works for the railroad. So
and I'm actually working right now, so I'm on call this weekend. Fun. So
well, we're glad
I may have to drop, so I don't know.
you need to be careful though, because if the train master sees that you're sitting right between with that locomotive coming behind you, you're going to get fired. So go ahead and step off to the side, get off to the side, get off the right away, and go. All right. Thanks, Reggie. We appreciate it.
Yeah, Reggie, my address, my email address, and phone number, I just stuck those in the chat. So if you got any questions or need any help, please reach out and be happy to help you out.
All right. Anybody else have any comments or anything about the AP program? We got nope, nobody. All right. Show and tell. Anybody got anything for show and tell, real quick? Anybody working on anything?
I can show you some stuff I'm working on.
That'd be great, Gordy. Help us out.
Yeah. All right. Can I share my screen and I can show you the microscope?
Absolutely. You should be able to right now.
All right. Hang on. Let me just find which of my many screens to show.
Yeah. One of the 14.
Yeah. Can you see? What can you see? Is that not the right
We see
screen?
a gear on a wheel and a scale of some sort there.
Sweet. All right. So I've been working in doing some stuff for the British Region magazine in a scale that is 2 millimeters equals a scale foot. So it's British N scale, but it's super fine British N scale. So British N scale's 1/148th, and this is 1/52. So this is 1/152. An American N gauge N scale is 1/160th. An American N scale is the most accurate to prototype scale that we have, that's kind of mainstream, we've supported by Ready to Run in the US. So in the UK, this is what you do. So what you're looking at there is a wheel set for a locomotive in 2 mil fine scale. The scale along the bottom is millimeters, and that's a hand machined wheel set, and the gears, that's been turned on a lathe by a member of the Model Railway Club in London, which was the first model railway club in the world, in Keene House in London. And that's you're looking at that through 600 zoom microscope, and this is coming in from the side. Just now, you can just see the tip of a toothpick, and that is a bearing that's also hand machined, and those are for the needle point axles. So I'm just going to flick the bearing away.
Gordy, does the term idiot or crazy or obsessed mean anything to you guys?
Well, you funny you should say that, because for Dwayne, just because I like Dwayne so much, I've sent Speed a kit in this scale so he can enter it for his AP.
Perfect.
But if I
That's
just show you,
crazy.
that is a standard N gauge wheel set that you would consider fine scale anywhere else. So that shows you the difference in the flanges and stuff. And then if you just bear with me, and you got to tell me if I'm showing you guys too much for show and tell, because I've
No,
got
this is
things to
interesting
show
stuff.
you. How about some axle boxes? So these are 3D printed axle boxes that you get and you put onto the. So British stuff isn't got trucks or anything. British stuff is solid frame 4-wheel wagons, and that's this. Here's my toothpick, and that's the axle box there, which would be very
We
much
call
like
them journal boxes over here.
yeah,
But yeah.
journal box, yeah, and that's where you would drop your oil in, and you would get your help box and all that kind of stuff in the good old days. That isn't a roller bearing on this, and that's your leaf spring there, and then you snip this off at the top, and you stick it onto the etch. Now, give me just a second. I have an etch here. Here's a chassis. It looks quite good actually under here, but remember, here's a toothpick. So let's get that the right way up. Hey, that might help. And so that's the hole where that little bearing goes, and that's the W hangers, and that's and these are etched in nickel silver, and it's about 5 thou thick, I think, if I'm converting that correctly. And then here you can see all the rivet detail. This is the sole bar that runs along the edge of the wagon. There, the maker's plate. You really can't make that writing out, but it would be way too small to do in this scale. Yeah, just another British thing for you. Oh, hang on. That's a brake shoe, just there. That's the brakes and the brake shoe, brake gear. And where are we? Just off to the side here. There's your coupling hook. And the British couplings were free. Was a hook and a chain. Still are hook and a chain. There are some people who in this scale use hook and a chain. And remember, there's the hook, there's the toothpick. So yeah, people are a bit nuts like that. But
That is crazy.
that's the stuff I'm working on for the British Region magazine.
What code rail do you guys use?
So I'm using code 40 bullhead rail. Do you want to see so you don't have fish plates in this scale. It's too small. So do you want to see some fish plates?
Please.
So you sweat these onto the side of the rail. Let me find here's one I prepared earlier. Here is some rail, which might be a bit difficult to show. There you go. There's some rail in the. I'm just going to try and adjust that. There's the rail that we're using in the chairs. The British rail is not flat bottom; it's bullhead, so it looks like an I-beam. And this is code 40 bullhead rail, sitting in a chair.
Dwayne, would that qualify as hand laid track?
I don't see why not. If you're having to attach the rail to the sleepers, then yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then and like I say, there's no fish plates. So in this scale, to connect sections of track, you sweat an actual etched nickel silver fish plate, which obviously you trim to length. These are actually for turnouts. You trim it to length. You sweat that with a soldering iron onto the sections of track to join the sections of track together. Yeah, so that's what I've been working on for the British region.
Hey,
you want to
Gordy,
see? Yeah.
I think he left out a term. I think that the one he left off was psychotic.
Yeah, that's it.
You're sweating on fish plates. That's incredible, man. That's the detail's impressive.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's why we're a bit nuts. Do you want to see a frog?
So, Gordy, when are you going to start hand laying Z-scale track?
Yeah, so I draw the line at that, but I was talking to a lady this morning who models 2-foot narrow gauge in this scale. And
Oh,
so
good Lord.
she 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 hand turns things, and so the gauge there is 4mm gauge between the rails, and she is hand turning her own wheels, and she needed a 1'6" scale wheel, diameter wheel, with the flanges, and she's managed it, but she got her dimensions wrong the first time she did it, and she's actually made a 1 foot, so a 2mm diameter wheel that works by hand, no machines. She's done
Wow.
it on a hand lathe.
Good grief.
So here is, I can't fit the whole thing. This is a number six frog in this scale. I remember 600 times magnification. So you can see how tight the flange is. If I, this is a bad sign. I've lost, oh, there's my toothpick, right. Toothpick, the toothpick's thicker than the flange. So there you go.
That's just crazy.
So I thought you'd all enjoy that, just as a brief show and tell thing for you.
That's
Thank
cool.
you,
Show you what
Gordy.
I'm working on.
That's amazing.
Would that count as proto 160?
Well, 160. So this is the conversation. 160th is pretty much as close as you can get track gauge. It's like less than a 1/4 inch out. So actually, N scale stuff, US N scale stuff's pretty prototypical. It's just that the flanges you could do with turning them down. I think some of the flanges on some of the ready to run stuff we have, but. There you go.
Well, Jason, you mentioned hand laying Z scale. We had a guy here in Dallas that he did his entire MMR in Z, including hand laying track. And it was so good. Back not that long ago, you had to have your track work scored, not just make sure, now you just check through the gauges, make sure everything operates, right? Well, before you actually had to go through and score it. So it had to be scenic. It had to have everything in it, right? Myself, Jerry Schoenberg, and Jerry Hoverson had it at a division meeting over here in D3 many years ago and scored the first two fairly quickly. And when we got to his crossover, I think we spent about a half hour or 40 minutes on it, running around it, going through it with gauges and everything. I finally threw my hands up. I said, give him 125. I can't find anything wrong with it. But hand laid in Z. It was really nice work too. It was impressive.
Tell him, challenge him. If you want to mess with him, challenge him to do like narrow gauge Z now.
No joke. I had kind of had. He's had a stroke, unfortunately, so his modeling ability's kind of gone, but to some degree. But he's still working on a few things. He's just gone to the other end of the spectrum and gone to Z, or gone to G. But one of the things that I've been tinkering with is I want to make a display, make a series of cabooses, and do standard gauge and narrow gauge from all the scales up. So I talked with him a few years ago about getting a set of Z-scale trucks from him, and have bought a set since. And I am going to take it and cut the axles on it and narrow them up, because it didn't have to operate. It's just going to be on a display. So I'm going to narrow them up, and I'm going to have cabooses in ZN3, Z, and N3, and run them all the way up and make one little display. So there will be some ZN3, at least one ZN3 caboose running.
All right. Anybody else have anything for show and tell? Just raise your hand. Anything? All right. Cole is watching us. He's mobile right now. Cole, be sure and watch the street, not necessarily your screen. All right. That'd be good. Let's see here. Tips and tricks. Dwayne, tips and tricks this month? You got anything?
Yeah, I got one quick one I'll pass along to everybody. Whenever you're making water and you're doing we tend to call them a tank here, but a pond, a lake, a river, whatever, and you pour your resin into it, you're almost always going to get bubbles. And one of the things that people have always said to do is, pass a torch over the top of it. Now, this does a couple of things that you have to be very careful about. Most of us don't put the water in until we have a good chunk of the scenery around the bank, at least. So you got to be careful not to set your layout on fire. The other really biggie is you have to be very careful not to scorch the resin, because if you do, it'll create a little brown black spot that will never set up and will never go away. And if you try pouring more stuff over it, that spot will remain sticky forever. There's no good way to fix it other than cut it out and redo it. But it's not the heat from the torch that makes the bubbles pop. It's actually CO2. You can take a straw, just a plain old drinking straw, put it in your mouth and blow across the top of that resin, and that CO2 will draw those bubbles and cause them to pop. If you use the Mr. Hubner suggestion of using a tank of CO2 as your air source on your air compressor, like I do, you can actually take that for a very low output on it and shoot that across there just with nothing else in the brush. Just shoot straight air across it, and it will also help pull the bubbles up and cause them to pop.
Cool. I will also tell you something else. If you're working with water, any kind of medium to cause your water, I don't care what it is. Trust me, if there is a hole in the bottom of your area where you're pouring your water,
it will find
it. Ask me how I know this. Okay, so you want to make sure it's absolutely sealed.
Yep. And really one of the best ways to do that is get a drywall light. Basically buy them over at Home Depot. It's just a metallic light reflector, and you put a light bulb inside of it, and has a spring clip on it. Get one of those, hang it above your lights, above your water surface. Turn the lights off in the room, and that way that's the only light source. And crawl up underneath your layout and look for a little everything. If you see light coming through there at all, caulk it, seal it somehow, whatever it is you need to do till you can't see light through it. Because Mike's right, if you don't, your floor is going to look wet.
Yeah. Oh no, and if you've got carpet underneath there, you'll have a knot of resin or whatever you're using in the carpet that you'll have to cut out. Again, ask me how I know this. So anyway, we can go from there.
Let me add something to that too. If you're working with epoxy, be very careful with just how much catalyst you drip into it. First time I ever poured a lake bed, I seen the whole bed, got everything beautiful, got too much catalyst in the epoxy, and I poured it in there, and it promptly set up and cracked all over everywhere because it just didn't want that much. I had to completely redo it. And if you don't get enough catalyst, then it doesn't ever really set up to suit you, and it's all sticky. So be careful and try to get exactly what you need when you're mixing it.
Yep.
Hey, Jim, by the way, folks, Mr. Packer, the guy that just was talking there, one of the 3 people in the Lone Star region who has all 11 certificates in the in our, or 4 people now with Mr. Schoenberg. But he's got all 11 certificates. That's a pretty good looking layout behind you on the screen there, Jim. Is that your layout by chance?
Yeah, it is by chance. Although it's downstairs and I'm upstairs. This is the magic of computer work here.
There you go. Yeah. And by the way, that layout is going to be on the layout tour for the 2023 convention, Lord willing. And Bruce, by the way, Jim, remember when we had it set up for September, Mr. Petrarca was coming over, and then COVID hit us, and he postponed his trip till next month. So he's coming back in the third week of when is it?
I'm flying in on the 16th.
16th. So, Jim, we want to reschedule to come visit your layout somewhere that week in November, if you don't mind.
Well, that's fine. Just call and let me know, and let me make sure it's on the schedule.
And we can get stuff started towards the publicity side of this for the convention.
Okay. Crumpton, David, do you have something you wanted to say?
While we're on the subject of water, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos, and there's some real good videos out there on water. One of the best I've seen was after the resin has been poured and the bubbles have been taken care of with the CO2, this guy took Mod Podge gloss and brushed it over the top of the water surface, and then took his airbrush on a low pressure and kind of blew it around, and it formed ripples. And when that dries, it dries clear, and it looks fantastic. Looks like ripples in the water instead of that real solid glass-like surface you tend to get when you pour a water surface. So just haven't tried it yet. I'm going to. So just a tip, Mod Podge gloss.
Yep, you can get that over at Hobby Lobby.
And yeah, I got 2 jars of it at Hobby Lobby last night, and just use an airbrush to kind of gently blow it so you get a ripple effect on it. And when it dries clear, man, it looks fantastic.
It does, and that's a lot easier way to add some wave action to your water, because the resin is self-leveling, so it's going to want to dry completely flat, except wherever you have pilings. The wood absorbs it and then it wicks up, and you'll always end up with this edge that runs up. So what you want to look at doing there is you can go around this 2 ways. You can seal your pilings and then pour up to that sealed level, or pour your water surface and let it creep up and pour it a little shorter, a little less deep as you want, and then let that completely set up and let it wick up, and then pour you a second pour on top of that will come up to the edge of that wicked up section. But sometimes, depending on what kind of wood you're using for your pilings, it can wick up a long way. So I really recommend sealing those first, and it'll kind of prevent that problem. But yeah, the Mod Podge is a lot easier to do to get your wave action, because otherwise you're sitting there with a screwdriver, and some of this epoxy, depending on what brand you use, can take 12, 14, 16 hours to set up. And I've had friends that'll go through, it's like, yeah, I poured mine, went to bed, got up the next morning, and then spent 30 minutes with a screwdriver picking little ripples into it. And then about the time I got done, the other edge had started to flatten back out. So I went back over and picked at it some more. And he spent about 4 hours, picking at this thing, trying to get it where it would actually finally set up and give him some waves. But the Mod Podge works so much faster, and it's so much easier. And quite honestly, looks better, because you can get smaller little ripples in the water.
Okay. Want to open it up for Q&A. Anybody have any questions for Q&A? Who's got questions for Q&A? I don't see anybody.
Mike, I have one.
Okay, Dennis.
I have a steam locomotive that I was having problems with keeping cars coupled to it. So I did some measuring, and the bottom of the coupling is higher than the midsection is supposed to be, even with tolerance. So to me, the simplest way is to get a car and match that coupling height, and always use that car immediately up behind the locomotive. But in scale, I have not found any way that I can raise the coupling above the wheels. Anybody have any suggestions?
So we're talking about in scale, and
Yes, sir.
the coupler on the tender is too low. Is that correct?
No, too high.
Too high. Okay. So is the coupler box mounted to the tender body?
Yes.
So you can't undo. Okay. Can
Well,
you remove that coupler box from the body and put a spacer there and
Yeah, it's hard
lower
to say.
that
You need to
coupler
shim
a
it.
little bit? Shim it. Yeah.
well, I took the screw out, and there were wires and everything connected to it. So I put the screw right back in.
Okay. Dr. Tom, can you join us here for a second and possibly give him a solution on that? We got to unmute you. Hang on a second. Unmute yourself there, Dr. Tom. There we
Has
go.
he got the car there in front of us that he could hold up?
It's not the car, it's the tender on the
No,
locomotive.
I didn't bring it. I brought my measurements, but I didn't bring the car or the locomotive. No, I didn't.
I take it in N scale, they don't have but one coupler. They don't have the underslung and overslung couplers. You know, in HO, you've got long ones, short ones, medium, highs, lows. What do they have in N
Okay,
scale?
no, I'm unable to answer your question. I don't know.
Hang on just a minute, guys. Oh, my keyboard just went kaput on me. Hang on a second. Let's see here. Dwayne, can you pull up on your the KD site?
Already ahead of you.
Is this N scale?
Yes.
I've got it. Do you want me to show it you?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Gordy, and share your screen and
hang on, let
pull
me
up
just
the
choose.
Dennis, so you'll see here what Gordy's going to bring up here. KD and HO scale has all the different. There's a better example, Gordy. If you go and it actually shows the models with the offsets in the up and down without that thing right there.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was just on the. I thought we were talking N scale, so I was just.
Well, we are,
showing,
but.
Okay.
So Dennis, right here is what Gordy is showing you is all the different types of couplers that are available that you can get, and there are offsets in N scale where it'll actually drop the coupler down on the shank or up on the shank.
That's right.
So if you change out the coupler that's inside the coupler box, it will raise it or lower it depending on which one you're looking for.
Discount probably has those in stock too.
Yeah, and Discount probably has them in stock, but go to the KD website and you can look and see what you're looking for and get the offset shank in scale couplers.
Okay, I will give that a try and see what I can find. I could find all kinds of things for HO, but I was having problems with N scale.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Tom. I appreciate it. Daryl, I see you're unmuted. Do you have a question or something?
Yeah, I had a question for Dwayne. What did you seal your pilings with before you poured water?
Varnish.
Just varnish?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just a flat
clear fingernail polish would work because it's just going to seal it over as well.
Yeah, the only problem with fingernail polish is it's always glossy.
Yeah, that's true.
So I went with a flat varnish. That way, if I didn't pour it all the way up to the top of the varnish line, then it still didn't show.
Yeah.
And what you can do too then is you can actually seal the whole piling, and then it doesn't matter, you know.
Super. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Anybody else have anything for Q&A? Okay. At this time, guys.
Excuse me. Can I make one general comment?
Yeah, Tom.
I know that there are other brands of couplers, but you can always find a KD that fits.
I agree with that.
If you get determined, I mean, the best thing to do is go on the internet and look it up. Now, they may not move you up or down exactly the amount you want, but the height of couplers, it's nice if they're perfect. After working on 800 engines, I can tell you they never are. They're just a little bit up, a little bit down, and you hit those vertical curves in your railroad and they're going to rise up. They're not going to be perfect. Get it as good as you can. And I think if I was an N scale, I'd probably have one of several different heights and one of several different lengths, just like I do in HO.
Yep.
And that way I've got what I need when I need it.
Yep.
So just a recommendation that KD, I have no interest in KD except they do the job for me.
Yeah.
So.
And
Mike,
Dennis,
if
if you look over in the chat, Gordy has posted a link for you, Dennis, on where to find information about different N-scale couplers.
Yeah, Microtrains, I think, is in Gordy's link there, and they make fantastic couplers for N-scale.
And Dwayne, privately, you're going to have to educate Gordy on the difference between N-gauge and N-scale. So
Yeah, big difference between gauge and scale.
That's his.
Oh, let's not even go there.
Oh, it's my soapbox. It really is, and Mike loves to poke the bear with that one all the time. As I like to say, it is slightly wrong to say a tomato is a fruit, is a vegetable. It is really wrong to say it's a suspension bridge. Gauge and scale, not interchangeable.
And Gordy, if as the future president, you've got to get that one right. Okay, got to get that one right.
They've got narrow gauge couplings on their website as well.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they got a few with this, class, taste, and distinction. Actually, truth be told, the Microtrains couplers for anybody out there in HON3 work fantastically, and they really look good on HON3 rolling stock. In fact, if it wasn't for the fact I've got so much Blackstone that has the Cadies on it, I'd probably be running it on all my cars. They operate really, really well. I don't know if Discount still has it. I don't think I've seen it over there in forever, but they used to have a display over there that was automated. You could just walk over and hold a button down and it would go over, back up a car, pick it up, bring it over, back it up a spur and do an automatic uncoupling and a delayed coupling and the whole mess. Those couplers really do work very, very well, and they're teeny tiny.
Yep. All right, Bruce. Yes. Question.
I just had to say I'm in line right behind Dwayne on the scale gauge thing. However, I got into a huge fight with Joe Fugate when I was writing the column, and he says people use HO scale instead of HO gauge, and so that's the way I want them in the articles. And I go, okay, he's paying the bills.
That's it. All right, so guys, at this time, I wanted to introduce our feature for today. In October of 19, September of 19, I guess it was, 4 of our members, Jay Waters, Ken Kaiser, Frank Treadaway, John Garfield, and significant others that belong to those guys, or they live with those people. I'm not going to say belong. That's probably not the right term. But
those people tolerate our 4 members.
Tolerate, tolerate people that live with them and tolerate all 4 of them or whatever.
I'd like to make one distinction there. It was not my significant other. It was my son.
Your son. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That works. All took a trip from Dallas-Fort Worth to, I believe, Vancouver, where they boarded the Rocky Mountaineer, one of the premier passenger trains in the world. Jason Parham actually did that one with his bride on their for a honeymoon trip. So several of you may have taken it before, but if you haven't, you're in for a treat. John, I'm going to let you go ahead and take over and share your screen and give us our presentation, at which point you can go ahead and unmute yourself and you'll have the floor. Thanks for putting this together.
Okay, I think I have it. You hear me now?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to cover the trip, but I wanted to do a little presentation first, just to show you got the hat on the trip, Rocky Mountaineer hat. And my wife, excuse me just a second, kind of a cover coat. But the biggest thing we all did was bought the coach that we traveled on. These are an HO. We all got one, and we're waiting to get back to the club and do a run with them. I think Jay bought the engine to go with it. It's an SD40-2. The other thing I got in Banff was this T-shirt. So
John,
I think I've covered all of that.
John, what's the cost on those cars?
Cars are very expensive. It was $200.
Wow.
So they're very expensive.
And the only place you can get them is on the train. Is that correct?
Yep.
The only place you can get them is on the train. Once you've ridden the train, then you can buy them from their gift shop afterwards.
Say, Ken and Frank,
Okay.
go ahead and unmute yourselves, and you guys pitch in whenever you have something you want to add to what John's saying. Jay, you can do the same. We'd love to have your input as well. So, John, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to try to switch over to my screen. I can learn how to do this again. Let it come up here.
Down at the bottom, share screen, it's going to give you a menu, and then you can choose which screen you want to share. The green thing at the bottom.
Okay.
Share screen.
Yeah, you got Rocky Mountaineer trip on your screen?
No, sir.
Oh. No?
You got to choose it in the window and then hit share on the bottom. The red button that says share. Hit the
I did have share on.
screen. Hit the share screen. It's gonna arrow up.
I'm trying to find it here. It's kind of.
Yeah, while he's talking, I'll say this. Back when we wrote it in 2009, my wife and I did on our honeymoon. They did have a the catalog of various souvenirs you could buy, and at that time they had some Rapido. They were the red leaf cars, is what they called them, the single level coaches that were basically special run of the Rapido cars, which actually were completely correct because the cars they were using on that train were ex-Canadian National coaches, which is what they were using on there. I don't think you could buy those from Rapido. They were only specially made for them, but they did not have those double level gold leaf cars that he just showed at the time.
I'm trying to get back to my screen. I'm not getting there.
John, did Rapido make those for the double level cars like that?
Yes, they do. And it's the only place you can get them. Oh, trying to get back. I don't know how to get back out of the screen.
John, do you see at the bottom where it says share screen in green?
Because I'm on my screen. Oh, I'm on my screen. It doesn't show that.
On the Zoom meeting screen at the
I'm
bottom,
learning how to do all this.
it says share screen in green.
I'm sorry, it doesn't show that.
Is your mouse hovering over the bottom?
The screen, it will pop up.
Hover your mouse at the bottom of the screen. Do you have it there when you hover at the very bottom?
Yeah. Yeah.
See if he's got all the other stuff. He may have the screen moved too far down.
Is your screen in a window or full screen, John?
It's in a window.
Do full screen, that might help.
Well, it doesn't come back, is what I'm saying. There's full screen, but it still doesn't come back.
John, do you see in the lower right the red button that says leave?
It doesn't show a red button.
You're going to be on forever then.
Yeah, I know.
Try Alt S. Alt S.
Alt S, okay. Oh.
You could have him leave the meeting and come back again.
I don't know why it's
In the upper right-hand corner where it says view, click on that and leave full screen. That'll shrink it and some of those items across the bottom, maybe that aren't showing now, they might show if you get out of full screen.
What I'm saying is that I can't get out of the full screen. Hold on, sir, just a minute.
Okay, do you have view in the upper right-hand corner?
No, I do not.
Try to hit your escape button.
On your keyboard, John, hit the escape button.
Okay.
Upper left side.
Yeah. It's not doing anything. To get out of this.
Well, while you're doing that, John, Jay looks like he's bringing up some photographs here.
Yeah, he's got some photos there, I see.
And you can go ahead and keep
I'll just
trying
run
to
through
work
what
with
I've
that.
got right quick
Go
while
from there.
John sees if he can get his going.
Okay. Go ahead, Jake. What do you got there?
This is Vancouver. When we got there a day early and had some time to go sightseeing, so Jeremy and I took a float plane out of the harbor there and flew around over the downtown Vancouver. It's really a beautiful area right there on the waterfront, the coastline. It's a very, very densely packed city. This stadium here right in the middle was built for the Olympics. I can't remember what year it was, but you can see there's a rail yard here kind of off in the distance, and then all the ship traffic that comes in. This is a rail yard across the way in the sulfur plant here. You can see the tracks that are running around the sulfur plant as they come in and unload and load the cars. That was my son and I. Canadian Pacific Railway station there in Vancouver. It's a beautiful building. This is when we were boarding the Via Rail. We started out the trip on the Via Rail in sleeper cars overnight going from Vancouver east to Jasper. That was my son sitting in our roomette. You have to go up out of the city, cross the bridge, and then come back across on the other side of the river. Go through all these rail yards. It's a circuitous route trying to get out of Vancouver. Nice long train, the mountains in the distance. It was almost exactly a year ago this last week that we were all there, so it was a peak of the aspen trees turning in the snow on the mountains. The water there is all glacier fed, so it's just unrealistic turquoise blue. It's just beautiful water from all the glacier settlements that are in it. Got stopped on one of our trips by the bighorn sheep stopping in the middle of the highway to feed her baby. This was one of the glaciers we stopped at, and you can see over here in the distance, these are great big glacier vehicles that we rode on from here over to there. There's Ken and John and Jenny. That was at the glacier. That's the glacier back behind them. And then after the glacier, we went on the Glacier Skyway walk. This is standing looking through the glass floor at the canyon 1,000 feet below you. It's a little unsettling. There's Ken and Jeremy standing out on the glass walkway. This is Lake Louise. We arrived and stayed one night at Lake Louise. This was what it looked like when we got there in the afternoon. And that was a view from our room. back onto Lake Louise with the mountains in the distance. And then we woke up the next morning to that. So we got to see the beautiful uncovered in snow and then snow covered in its beauty. Lake Louise is just magnificent. The beautiful clear water, all the mountains around it is just absolutely picturesque. That's the hotel where we stayed back at the end of the lake. It was our bus tour on the going from Jasper to Banff. This is one of the hotels that was built in Banff for the Canadian National Railways back then. It's a huge hotel, absolutely beautiful architecture. Being an architect, it was fun to see that. Nestled in the mountains. It's more of the scenery around Banff. Banff was just absolutely spectacular. And then Jeremy and I took a gondola ride up to the top of the mountain there above Banff. This is Banff down in the valley below. This is the train station in Banff. Trains come in, the Rocky Mountaineer comes in from the east, drops the folks off, and then this is where we loaded the next morning. That's our little merry band of people headed off to get on the train in Banff to take the trek back to the west to Vancouver. All of our folks.
Jay, those cars look like they're almost all visible high, low, and everywhere around there.
Yeah, they are completely clear top dome cars, and they clean the windows every night. It was just absolutely spectacular. It was absolute top-notch class service.
And Mike, if you look at that previous picture right there, you'll see that glass, except for where that emergency exit is, that is a continuous piece of glass wrapping up to almost to the middle of the roof.
Yeah, you can see here.
Yeah.
You see the window tint changes just a little bit right there, just to keep the
sun up.
Off, but it is
I'll-
a
I'll-
piece of glass.
I'll put in here that we got a special car because that car was brand new. It just got into service. So we had a real special car.
Was it assigned seating for you guys every single day, or did you kind of catch can?
No, it was assigned seating. That was a sunrise as we were leaving that morning. There again, just some of the crystal clear turquoise water. You can kind of see the lower level and then all the high dome cars like we were in. And you sit up here in the dome car, and then down below is the dining area. So half the car would go down for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and then the other half would go down so that everybody, alternated going to the meals, and the meals were just out of this world.
So every single car is a diner and a coach. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and you can't go from car to car. You're contained to your car.
Now, one of the things that I've seen on television, you're bringing it up. That's exactly what I was going to point out.
Yeah, each
things
of them
on
has
the
an
television
outdoor
show-
observation deck.
Yeah, every car is an observation deck on the back end of it.
And you also have your own chef.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Your chef is assigned to your car for the entire trip?
Yes.
Yep.
Wow.
There you can see how the window is.
Yeah, the kitchen's on one end of the lower level, and from what I could tell, at least when we rode it, they usually had the cars turned where the two kitchens faced each other, so they could actually facilitate, making some of the meals, to help give them a little extra room.
And it'd be my luck, my chef would be from Cordon Bleu.
Believe me, they wouldn't last long on this. As much as you pay for these seats, they don't put up with
I
that.
bet he wouldn't last long.
No. They've got some really neat videos out on YouTube, man. Talk about some of these guys are like Michelin star rated chefs. I mean, they're that good.
Yeah.
They also made cookies in the afternoon for us.
There's the engines pulling us. This is one of the few places where the train bends around and you can see the engines. Most of the time it's so circuitous and whatnot, you can't see the front of the train.
So Jay, what's the difference in the single level and the bi-level cars as far as class of service?
Money.
And the single level cars are?
A lot of these are staff cars.
Staff cars, yeah.
I don't know how it changed, guys, since I've done it. Like I said, it was 11 years ago. But at that time, I see that one single level car does have some glass wrapping up. They must have bought those fairly newer. But at that time, that baggage car right there was the head end power generator. And the single level coaches that followed were the XCN coaches. And those were what they called the red leaf level service. And I think you had like kind of box meals that they would serve you. And then the gold leaf was where the double level cars with the wraparound glass. And then
I think they refer to that as the silver leaf service now.
Okay, yeah, I think they did change something that I think I did hear them talking about. They were going to introduce another level at one point.
Now you also get as much liquor as you want.
Yeah. There's standing outside on the observation platform. This is one of the spots where you cross it's double track. The trains coming from the west going east are on one side of the river, and then it switches at this point. So you cross over the top of the other route.
I think that was CP, wasn't it?
I think that's right, John. Let's see. Yeah.
That's a CP.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Yeah. We took this trip last year in September, the exact same one, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. We must have just missed you because we were on it at the end of September, the first week in October last year.
Canadian National and Canadian Pacific parallel each other on the route. They were competing railroads back when they were first laid.
And the CP was on the east side, and the CN had the right side.
Yeah.
But the right side will only be single.
They switch back and forth.
Yeah, I think they've negotiated in recent years. Basically, they've worked out a negotiation between the two railroads where they can run basically directional running on there. So it almost works like a double track main line for the both of them.
I think that if you got a little history when you got on the train, the Canadian Pacific was built first, but their rates were high, so people got together and decided to build the Canadian National to compete and have a little lower rates.
Well, as I understand it, the CP was all freight, and the CN, which is partly built by the government, was passenger service.
I can't answer that.
There was some great stone bridges on the CP side.
No, he's right. The Canadian National was subsidized by the government.
Right.
Now, I had done this trip like 30 years ago before it was the Rocky Mountaineer. It was just regular commercial train track. We went from, I guess, Calgary to Vancouver. It was wonderful.
Yeah, the way this train works, and going east on the Via Rail, you're in a sleeper car and sleep through the beautiful scenery at night, so you don't really see anything. And what the Rocky Mountaineer does is coming from Banff back to the west, is you're on the train during the day and then they stop at night and you get off the train, stay in a hotel, and then get back on the train the next day. So it's a 2-day trip, but they only travel during the day so that you can actually see the scenery, which is spectacular to see. Well, we went through the loop tunnels where you climb through the corkscrew, and it was just a phenomenal trip. We had an absolute blast, and that's our group that went, all 7 of us. This was at the termination point.
This was the southern route. They also have a northern route that goes up through Whistler and over to Jasper.
That's the last of the pictures I've got.
Well, Jay, you did really good. I don't think you need mine.
Okay. All right. Well, Jay, thanks. Appreciate that. Let's see here, guys. Does anybody have any questions about the trip or anything y'all wanted to add?
One thing I remember right that from that trip is that what you're riding on right there is the original route of the Canadian, which was originally a CP train. So the Canadian ran on the Canadian Pacific route and then CN had the competing Supercontinental, which ran on their line through that way. And when VIA started, after a few years, the Canadian government, through some agreement, I believe, with some of the towns there, they had to shift the Canadian to actually the old CN route, which wasn't as spectacular a scenery, but was no slouch, I assure you. So what these guys did when they started Rocky Mountaineer was actually to allow you to run on the original CP line through all that magnificent scenery and the spiral tunnels, as he mentioned, and they also make it an all daylight run. So we rode it from Banff back to Vancouver like they did, and we stopped overnight in Kamloops and actually stayed in a hotel overnight, so you don't miss a lick of scenery. They take you in the bus right back to the depot, and you are back right at there on it the next morning and running on it. So it was fantastic. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
So the burning question, gentlemen, is the cost of the trip, tickets on the trip that you guys took. What did those numbers run, Jay?
$4,000.
$4,000 for how many days, Ken?
It was a week.
10-day trip.
7 days full?
10. It was total 10 days.
10 days, okay. Did that include airfare, or was that airfare included to get there, or was that separate?
No, that was separate.
No.
It was an expensive trip, but it was worth every penny. It was absolutely awesome, and Jeremy and I had a great time with Frank and Ken and John. We had a blast.
So once you left Dallas Fort Worth, got on the airplane, was there any other expenses other than incidentals and souvenirs, or was that it?
No, it was completely covered.
Wow.
Well, like we in Jasper, we stayed at a hotel that was included, but we had to pay for our meal.
Okay.
Yeah, there was. It pays though if you guys are considering doing this. And when we did it for our honeymoon, we worked with a travel agent that she really knew her stuff, and booking early paid huge dividends in that regard. We were booking a lot of when we did our trip 6 and 7 months out. And we were getting free upgrades as a result of that, because we paid the red leaf level service and we got gold leaf level, and I think we got hotel upgrades because of that, incentive. So it paid off quite a bit. I mean, it's tough booking that far out because there's so much uncertainty, as we've seen. But if you can do it, do it. Book early, and as early as you can, absolutely can.
Yeah, Jeremy, we booked early, and then I also went ahead and paid the extra for trip insurance just to be on the safe side. It's worth the little extra that you pay for that, just for those uncertainties as well.
We went through a travel agency.
Frank, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that my wife is handicapped, and the service that she received insofar as the transportation that they had for her at each stop that we made was fantastic. They really took care of us.
Yeah, they did.
Very nice. Ken?
Yeah, we worked through a travel agency in Vancouver, and they made the arrangements to pick us up at the airport, put us in the hotels, take us to the train. They did everything. And every time we stayed at a hotel, the luggage would show up in the hotel for us on the Mountaineer, which is really fantastic.
So most people didn't have that service. Is that what you're saying, Ken, or was that something special for?
Well, I'm sure when you book through the Rocky Mountaineer, they don't take care of the hotels ahead of time, and afterwards, when you get back to Vancouver, I doubt that.
If you're on the red leaf service, the level of hotels that you have is a little bit lower than if you're on the gold leaf service. In fact, I don't think we
we didn't have any association basically with anybody in the Red Leaf area. I don't recall. No.
Yeah, you got to keep
No,
the
it
riffraff
really
out.
needed.
Yeah,
We got Lake
you did not associate with the plebeians in that.
Just as a reference to Frank, each car has an elevator on it. So
Right.
Elizabeth was able to come up and down, not have to use the stairs to get upstairs, up to our level.
Awesome.
It was just phenomenal service. And then,
Room attendant, by the way.
I'd hate to say it, to plug
and
American
there's
Airlines.
the food offerings for breakfast. Not too shabby.
Yeah.
Frank, what were you going to say?
I was going to really plug American Airlines for the service that they gave her. Also, they picked her up when we walked in. Got into the airport, DFW, and she really never had to take a step to go anywhere.
Cool.
Oh, I will add that the limo service from the airport to our hotels was great.
Yeah, everything was top notch. There wasn't any misstep with any aspect of it.
Well, it was really neat. In Lake Louise, we got to have a dinner there in the main hotel, 4-course dinner. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, there was one of the things on ours too is our travel agent, and like I said, she knew all those tricks about booking early and everything, but unbeknownst to us, and like I said, we did not know this, that she did this behind our backs, that she called all the hotels that we were staying at, and every single one of them, and told them that hey, you have these two coming on these dates. These are on their honeymoon. Can you see what you can do for them? And every single one of the hotels that we stayed at, we either got a room upgrade that they just gave us on the house. We had notes from the manager of the hotel, thanking us for making their stay there. We had chilled champagne, I think in 2 cases. A couple more cases, I think we had the biggest chocolate covered strawberries I have ever seen in my life. We're sitting on platters in the room waiting for us as soon as we walked in. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean,
Those kind of amenities make it really nice.
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome.
It makes
when we got back to Vancouver, we were checking into our hotel, and Jeremy and I checked in, and the guy said, "We're sorry, sir. We've been a little bit overbooked, so we've had to upgrade you." And we had the penthouse suite.
Oh, good grief!
But he's sorry.
Yeah.
Was this in Banff?
He was apologizing. Yeah.
Because he was apologizing because he couldn't sell it to somebody else. He had to give it to some 2 old schlups.
Now, was that 4,000 each or per couple?
Each.
Ouch.
But like he said, that includes your meals, that including your hotel rooms that you stay in at, and
all the transfers.
Yeah, the bus transfers that you're taking between Jasper and to the Lake Louise to Banff.
Basically, it's a land cruise.
Exactly.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cruise ship on rail.
Yeah.
And I think we found out that our luggage actually went by truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While we were on the train.
Yeah, that baggage car you see on there is the head-end power generator. They're not carrying your baggage, and they loaded it on a box van truck. We noticed when there, and they took it they had it at the hotel and in the hotel room when we got there.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal service. You get off the train and go to your hotel, and your luggage is sitting in your room, and you just get up the next morning, leave your luggage in your room, and walk away from it, and they go get it out of your room and take it to the next stop. It was a choreographed, just phenomenal service.
But I'll also plug the Canadian that you guys wrote as well. If you guys want to experience, and for someone like me who was born in 1980, about 9 years after Amtrak started, to actually be able to ride on a classic streamliner, if you will. Those cars on that train are almost the exact same cars that they inaugurated that train back in like 1955. So if you want to ride on a classic Bud built straight North American streamlined train, and here's the deal, You can even ride in open sections in those cars. They actually have some cars on that train which have open sections to this day. Which is something that fell out of favor after World War II in the U.S. So you can actually pay the cheap sleeping rates right in an open section to get that experience if you want to.
Yeah, that was a fun trip just to experience sleeping on the train.
Yes.
I will say that the actual berth accommodations were better on those cars than they were on the Amtrak cars.
They are.
We had traveled from Chicago to Essex with one of our fellow members, Jim Norwood, who passed away a couple of years ago. And the sleeping accommodations on the Amtrak train were not in comparison to those that were on the Rocky Mountaineer.
So did you spend the night on the Rocky Mountaineer one night or several or never?
Well, we spent the night on the Canadian.
Oh, okay.
Rocky Mountaineer, they put you up in a hotel
That's what I
the
thought
one
I
night
heard
you're
you
there.
say. Yeah, I misunderstood what Frank was.
I didn't really say it right.
The problem is my sleeper was right over the back wheels, and every time we went over a crossing, it would bounce.
Gosh, Ken, ours were right in the middle of the car.
All right.
Yeah, when we got to Jasper, the westbound was stuck. It had mechanical problems. And so we had to wait until they fixed the mechanical problems. Then we had to go past the station and back the train into the station. It was interesting.
Thus is railroading, right?
Right.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to pretty much wrap it up for us today, guys. Unless somebody else has got something else they want to bring to the table. Anybody have anything you want to add to today's meeting?
I just want to thank Jake for stepping in.
A reminder, if David didn't mention the garage sale that Texas Western is having.
We did.
Did you? Okay.
Yep.
Just checking.
We got the garage sale on November 7th, the first Saturday of November, and then next Saturday we've got the swap meet for Division 3. So anybody wants to go over to that, look back through the chat right there before we hang up here, and you can go over there and pick up some deals on that. The upcoming NMRA-X stuff, Gordy has already dropped off. He had to go make dinner. It's that time in Altney, so I don't blame him a bit. We had, I think I saw the max was like 36, 38 people today on the meeting. So another good meeting we had here today. Want to thank everybody for attending. Want to thank everybody from literally around the world for joining us on today's meeting. We do plan to keep doing these meetings even when we go back to face-to-face. So if you can't make the face-to-face meeting, you'll still be able to join us on Zoom because we're going to be broadcasting, and David Cranda has already got the equipment set up, cameras and everything else, and we'll have our meetings going from there. So everybody, great seeing you all again, even if it was virtual. Look forward to seeing you next month when Mike Corley is going to give us a great clinic. And if we can touch base between now and then, look forward to seeing you and talking to you then. Stay safe, stay healthy. Everybody have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Hey, Mike.
Yes,
before
sir.
I leave, I wanted to say thank you for including the Division 5 folks in the meeting today.
Oh, absolutely. Glad to have you guys join us. We want to include you guys in anything that we can do over here. As our private conversation the other day was telling you, if you need any help with anything, you just let me know, and we're here to give you that support. You've got 22 members, 23 members, something like that in your division right now. And if we can help in any way at all, we're happy to do so. Use us as a resource to help spread the word out there. And I was very serious about you guys wanting to come to the Christmas party. It's going to start at 5:30 in the afternoon. I realize it'd be a little bit of a drive for you guys, but we'd certainly love to have you guys join us and enjoy our fellowship. We always have a good time at the Christmas party, and there's always plenty of great food. So,
what's the dates on that again?
The second Saturday of December, just like our regular normal division meeting.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Very good.
Thank you. I'm going to head out then. So
all right.
Got to
Take
go to
care,
work today.
Have a great
All right.
weekend. Betty, I've also got your stuff. As soon as we can get back together, I'm going to bring it and we can get you the items that you've got in Lionel in 027. So, okay. Take care. Everyone have a great one. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.